With Radio Algeria International, you will not miss a single major political or economic event. Radio Algeria International, our voice in the world.
This is the English service of Radio Algeria International. It's time for the news.
The Council of the Nation, chaired by Salah Koujil, has expressed condemnation and deep concern with regard to the French decision against Western Sahara. And the government of the Sahrawi Republic has condemned in its strongest terms the French government's affirmation of its hostile position towards the Sahrawi people and their inalienable right to self-determination. And as the Israeli occupation pursued its pounding of Gaza, both the European Union and the Arab Parliament advocated the rapid enforcement of a ceasefire and a political solution. Those were the major developments. Now, the full news edition. Good afternoon. Prime Minister Nadia El-Arbaoui has chaired an interministerial meeting aiming to take the necessary measures to face up to the rise in the world coffee prices and to its repercussions on the local market, in line with the instructions of the President of the Republic, Abdelmajid Tebboune. In this connection, a number of measures have been taken, including tax support for economic operators in the sector, capping profit margins on imports, wholesale and retail distribution, and facilitation to be given to importers by the customs services. The Council of the Nation has expressed condemnation and deep concern with regard to the French decision against Western Sahara, describing it as a miscalculation that constitutes a moral assassination of the international efforts to solve this issue. He said France's position constitutes a violation of its obligations as a permanent member of the Security Council and violation of international legitimacy. The Council of the Nation said France seeks in vain to undermine the efforts of international and regional organizations to enable the Sahrawi people exercise their legitimate right to self-determination. It is a desperate attempt by neo-colonialism to legitimize the rejected colonial ideology. You still listen to Radio Algeria International. The Council of the Nation said Algeria, which fought colonialism and rejected it yesterday, still rejects it today, regardless of its forms and sources, stressing that colonial France does not represent the French people, as the Moroccan occupying regime does not represent the Moroccan people. The government of the Sahrawi Republic has condemned in its strongest terms the French government's affirmation of its hostile position towards the Sahrawi people and their inalienable right to freedom, independence and self-determination. Mariam Barshi has the details.
The Sahrawi government said this situation, which constitutes a dangerous escalation, will have serious consequences on peace and security and stability in the entire region. It said the Sahrawi people will never forget France's colonial past and its direct involvement in the attempts aimed to exterminate the Sahrawi people and suppress their resistance in the beginning of the 20th century and in the mid-50s and mid-70s. France also used its military machinery, including Jaguar aircrafts, to bomb Sahrawi civilians, and it continues to provide multidimensional support for Morocco's illegal occupation of Western Sahara since October 31st, 1975. The Sahrawi government said this position, which is contrary to the principles of international law and the international obligation of France as a permanent member of the UN Security Council, reveals France's involvement in the ongoing aggression against the Sahrawi people. It also confirms clearly that France is a direct and premeditated accomplice to all the crimes associated with the continuing genocidal war waged by the Moroccan occupying state against the Sahrawis. Moreover, this position uncovers once again the true colonial face of France, which boasts of being the cradle of the first Universal Declaration of Human Rights. Western Sahara said those who truly embrace human rights do not support the occupation of a territory awaiting to be decolonized. Those who truly defend the democracy and the sovereignty of peoples do not support an invading, repressive and expansionist regime. Those who truly seek to maintain international peace and security do not fuel strategies of tension by blatantly supporting expansionism and the forcible annexation of the territories of others. The government of the Sahrawi Republic affirms that by taking this hostile and escalatory position, France has excluded itself from everything related to international efforts to decolonize Western Sahara.
And France's position triggered several condemnations. The president of the Arab Committee of Solidarity with Western Sahara, Mohamed Saleh, said the French government lost its credibility.
We in the Arab Committee of Solidarity with Western Sahara, in the name of all Arab countries that we represent, we reiterate our strong condemnation of the position of France. The French government lost its credibility, especially with all the slogans that it used to voice. The United Nations should implement all the decisions that regard Western Sahara, notably the one regarding self-determination and the organization of a self-determination referendum to allow the Sahrawi people to recover the right that they have been deprived of for more than half a century.
Meanwhile, a member of the Sahrawi Youth Association in France, Salah ad-Din Lobsir, said the decision of France was not surprising given its previous hostile positions.
We
are not surprised at all by this no-all decision, which adds up to the many other ill-fated decisions that we have been accustomed to by France since the first years of the Moroccan military invasion of Western Sahara. As we already know, the French government participated in destroying Western Sahara and in imprisoning and murdering the Sahrawi people. It also participated in their displacement by bombing the Sahrawis with the French military arsenal and massacring them, their livestock, and destroying all their properties.
Let's note that the French government decided last week to recognize Morocco's autonomy plan for Western Sahara. The Algerian government said the French decision does not serve the objectives of peace in Western Sahara as it contributes to perpetuating the colonial status quo in the region. You still listen to Radio Algeria International and to the Palestinian thorny issue now. As the Israeli occupation pursued its pounding of Gaza, both the European Union and the Arab Parliament advocated the rapid enforcement of ceasefire and a political solution to end the war on Gaza. The EU diplomacy chief Josep Borrell stressed that only a political solution could put an end to the ongoing madness, while recalling that the international humanitarian law must be respected and that assistance must be provided at a large scale. He expressed contestation at the attack launched by the Israeli occupation against a school sheltering refugees in Khan Yunis and denounced the endless displacement of the Palestinian population. In a similar move, the Arab Parliament condemned the attack on a school in Deir al-Balah sheltering displaced as yet another massacre perpetrated against the Palestinian civilian population. It denounced the international community's silence over Israel's crimes and impunity and reiterated that such terrorist actions constituted a blatant violation of international law and humanitarian law. The Arab Parliament called on the international community and the UN Security Council in particular to put a halt to the genocide and ethnic cleansing carried out by the Israeli occupation against Palestinians. And in Lebanon, military sources confirmed that 5 civilians had been killed following an Israeli attack on the southern part of the country. Several other people have been injured and several houses destroyed during the Israeli attack. To Latin America now. In Venezuela, about 21 million people today went to the polls as part of the presidential elections that oppose the outgoing president Nicolas Maduro and opposition candidate Edmundo González Urrutia. The outgoing president, who is running for a third 6-year long-term mandate, vowed after casting his ballot in Caracas that he would respect the results of the voting due to be released later today. In a statement to the press, he called on the 10 candidates had taken part in the elections to abide by the outcome of the voting and to respect the final decision of the National Electoral Council. In Bangladesh, a group of students have threatened to resume demonstrations as of tomorrow after several days of deadly unrest if their imprisoned leaders are not released, while the authorities gave the first official assessment of the repression after restoring mobile internet access. Clashes between protesters and police and a deadly crackdown by the authorities left at least 205 people dead in South Asian country last week. Home Minister said 147 people had been killed, giving the first official toll, while Students Against Discrimination. You still listen to Radio Algeria International and to the United States. And now, as an uncontrollable wildfire in Northern California has become one of the largest ever recorded in the western U.S. state within 3 days. The park fire is the most intense forest fire to hit California this summer, burning almost 142,000 hectares, thus making it the 7th largest fire in the state's history. The police arrested a 42-year-old man suspected of being behind the fire. The fire broke out on Wednesday near Chico in Butte County and within a few hours had devastated a vast area as well as neighboring Tehama County. You still listen to Radio Algeria International, and the Algerian gymnast Kaylia Nemour has qualified for the uneven bars final of the Paris 2024 Olympic Games. And Majid Mila gives us the details.
The Algerian gymnast Kaylia Nemour has qualified for the uneven bars final of the Paris 2024 Olympic Games at the Bercy Arena. The 17-year-old Algerian world vice champion began the Paris Olympic event with a superb qualification on the uneven bars with a perfectly executed routine that saw her finish well ahead with a score of 15,600 with a degree of difficulty of 7,100 ahead of China's Qu Qiuan 15,066 and Zhang Yihan 14,700. The four-time gold medalist at the 2024 World Cup will also be competing in the apparatus qualifications floor, beam and vault. For his part, the Algerian rower Sidi Ali Boudina qualified for the quarter-finals of the rowing event skiff men's individual at the Paris 2024 Olympic Games by finishing in first place in the third repechage series with a time of 7:10.23 on Sunday at the Olympic Nautical Stadium in Vaires-sur-Marne. This is the Algerian's third appearance at an Olympic Games following those in Rio, Brazil and Tokyo, Japan. He will compete in the quarterfinals on Tuesday.
2:43 minutes Algiers time. You're still listening to Radio Algeria International. UN Under Secretary General and Special Advisor to UN Secretary General the Prevention of Genocide Alice Warimo Nederito has called for collective responsibility to create world peace. She made the remarks at a conference convened in the Rwandan capital of Kigali to discuss the art and science of peace, resilience and transformational justice. She said the responsibility of building a more peaceful world is a duty for all of us, noting the need to create conversations, safe spaces and mechanisms that people can all learn from as they work together to create long-lasting peace. The UN official mentioned the need to prosecute perpetrators of crimes and implement changes in society as part of efforts to achieve lasting peace and avoid genocide-related crimes, war crimes, as well as crimes against humanity. The forum drew participants from international organizations, academicians, activists, and people involved in building peace in their own communities. She also hailed Rwanda's efforts in fostering reconciliation after a devastating genocide against the Tutsi group in 1994. You still listen to Radio Algeria International, and the UN official said the forum is held in Rwanda, a country that has witnessed the horror of genocide against the Tutsi in 1994. She said the world is still puzzled by the path that Rwanda has gone through after it was left to fend for itself and its achievement of reconciliation and resilience. You still listen to Radio Algeria International. That's it for our news bulletin. I invite you now to listen to a cultural program compiled and presented by Jamal Salmani.